This class will be discussing about the cloud characteristics and some models. And before going to that, I would like to let you know the preliminaries once again. Right. So this is a kind of migration, like a kind of migration strategy happened from one kind of computing scenario to another kind of other kind of computing scenario. That is simply if I look at the same. So this is happening from distributed computing to is this we have discussed yesterday. So the modalities and the formalisms that we have discussed, that is simply distributed computing to cloud. Okay, so this is the migration happen, and we had seen the combination of clouds in different with different participation in terms of entities, like say that hardware is must. Okay, I'll name this hardware after some lectures, means 2 or 3 lectures, what kind of hardware will do. And a complete grid computing scenario, this is one of the entity. Okay, grid computing scenario that we had discussed. And again, a kind of WWW methodology, that is internet technology. And finally, the systematic configuration or systematic model which configures the entire structure of cloud. So finally, if you combine all these like hardware, grid computing concept, and system modalities and internet technology, and finally we can have CC, that is cloud computing environment. Simple reason. Okay. As usual, that you know the concept of distributed computing, that in what way the distributed computing happened, and still it is happening, and still some of the applications are following the distributed computing paradigm. Okay, but for the storage purpose and others, then still we are following some traditional mechanisms like traditional database management system technologies and others. This is out of the discussion, so I'm not providing the information on the same. So we'll see that what kind of characteristics that particular cloud computing merges, means emerged with, and what are the relevant models defined, means designated in order to frame a cloud computing framework or a suitable cloud computing model. Okay, so we'll see the possibilities. Then again, so let me have a glimpse on the day before yesterday's lecture. That is as usual that what exactly the cloud computing converges like. So CC, like simple, the cloud computing is a transformative computing paradigm simply, and that involves delivering applications and services over the internet. So again, the concept of WWW has been considered. Okay. Many of the underlying technologies that are the foundation of cloud computing have existed for quite some time. Okay. But cloud computing involves provisioning of computing networking and storage resources on demand. Okay, so this term that I'm mentioning specifically, that is on demand, and providing these resources as metered services, on metered services. I'll give you the exact meaning of this term, that is metered services. So what do you mean by this? Say for example that I need a 2% computation, right, and 3% infrastructure, and say 5% storage. Okay, including this. So for this, I need to pay something as usual. Then I have booked the service. This kind of service means after this service, by paying the same some money to the cloud service provider or cloud vendor. Okay, cloud vendor. Now this is happened long back. Now say initially, means at this particular moment, that I want to compute some services from my end, or I want to compute some data from my end. Again, I require a kind of limitation from the CSE in the form of resources. Okay, in the form of computation and in the form of storage as well. So for tomorrow I'm speaking. So ultimately, the cost which was determined previously, means happened for last 3 months, is different for tomorrow's work. Why? Because the time duration is quite shorter, right? This is the way. Now, so let me treat the first scenario where that I had booked the concept, I had booked the services from CSP level, from the CSP end, means in the last, I mean 3 months ago, say example. For this, say I paid say $120. $120. Now, based on this requirement, the cloud service provider allocates this much percentile of resources for my work. Okay, so it's meter. Now, what happened? So till this day that I had managed the possibilities of my work with say 2% resources or something, 3% infrastructure and 5% storage. But instantly, I need some more extra resources, and some more extra computation strategy, and some extra space in the cloud. Okay, so again, in order to opt the same, that I need to pay back something extra to that particular cloud service provider. Why? Because my basic plan was for $120. So this is a kind of metered service kind of option, right? So this cloud computing provides the services based on demand and metered services too. These are the two things that we need to keep in mind. And let me club these two, that is on demand and metered services. Like say the cloud computing involves provisioning of computing, networking, and storage resources on demand, and providing these resources as metered services to the users in a pay as you go strategy. Pay as you go. This is the way. Pay as you go model. As I told you, like since 3 months ago, this was my scenario, but instantly I require some more extra service, so I need to pay back something to the cloud service provider. So if I pay much, then ultimately I'll get such kind of possibility services. A simple example I can quote here is that say opting the channels for a particular Sun network or something. Say till today that I am managing with only Star Sports and Star Movies. Then today instantly I want more channels that I want to add. So again I need to pay back something, right? So like this. So this is a kind of service. So pay as you go model. So we'll see that basically in today's lecture that we learn about the various deployment models, services models and characteristics, and some deriving factors and challenges of cloud computing. Okay, so I'll start with the basic preliminary type of issues again. So as usual, that let me provide the basic definition. See, the definition of cloud computing, it was provided by NIST. That is, in National Institute of Standards and Technology, it defines the cloud computing as the cloud computing is a model for enabling ubiquitous. This is one domain, ubiquitous. Okay, convenient on-demand network access to shared pool of configurable computing resources like networks, servers, storage, applications, and services. So that can be rapidly provisioned. I'm knocking on, my dear friends. These services can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. Service provider interaction. So in this way, the concept has been rendered. Now, so based on this concept, we'll see the possibilities in terms of characteristics of cloud computing. So I am writing here and I'll explain one by one. Okay, please note down. Why? Because I'm not going to share any kind of slides. Characteristics of CC. So I'll discuss. A kind of migration happened. Since a kind of migration happened from distributed computing to cloud. So what kind of characteristics that means need to be considered for cloud? Why? Because the configuration scenario of the cloud computing is different as compared to other computing models. Okay, whatever you consider, whether if you consider distributed computing, grid computing, high performance computing, whatever you consider, the modality is quite different for cloud computing. Right. So I have not discussed the architecture. I'll discuss the architecture probably in the 4th class. Okay. Yeah. So this NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, this is the US based organization. Okay, approved the modality of cloud, means paradigm of cloud. So this NIST further identifies 5 essential characteristics of cloud computing. 5 essential characteristics of cloud computing. So we can go more even, but we'll see the possibilities. Okay. The first one is, as usual, that we have already discussed about. That is, yeah, the first characteristic. One of the first characteristics is like on-demand self-service, my dear. On-demand self-service. Okay, so let's see that what it says. On-demand self-service. See, as usual, I told you that cloud computing resources can be provisioned on demand. Just now I gave you one best example. By the users, means on demand by the users, without requiring interaction with the cloud service provider. It's a kind of agreement. It's a kind of agreement. If we treat the environment like this is the cloud, okay, and a kind of network is provided among, and where the user entities, okay, user entities, individual user entities or end users you can call. User entities having the communication via the network or through the network with the cloud service provider. So once the agreement is happened among the user entity and the cloud, then the cloud service provider is nowhere, and the services which are given to the user entity for the utilization, right, can be opted directly. So even the user entity is not bothering about that where exactly the location is given for him or her data, or where exactly the computation is being performed. No one knows, right? So in order to manage the same, that cloud computing environment, it's a kind of service. I'll let you know after some time. Okay, this service keeps the track of all operation of that particular user entity based on the identity provided. Okay, so this on-demand service, like this on-demand service, can be provisioned on demand by the users without requiring interaction with the cloud service provider. So the process of provisioning resources is here. The process of provisioning the resources is automated, not manual. Say till today that I'm using, say, 120 GB of space space from this cloud, then instantly I require more. Say I want to increase up to 200 GB, say for example. Right, so this is automated. If you pay more for the same, and same will be renewed automatically, and it will go as per the demand, like this. Okay, so this is the meaning of on-demand self-service. Right, and this is the second characteristic, that is broad network access. Broad network access. This is the second one. What it tells. Say again, the cloud computing resources can be accessed over the network. This is over the network using standard access mechanisms that provide platform independent access through the use of individual means this is a kind of user entity, this is a kind of user entity, and this is a kind of user entity. All are not same. So if we consider the category as a common category, then we can treat the environment as homogeneous. But in cloud, this is not the restriction. I mean, the scope is given up to the heterogeneous. So that point that I want to knock here, that is by using some standard access mechanisms that provide platform independent access through the use of heterogeneous client platforms, such as, say, I am managing my work from my own workstation, you may be managing your work from your own desktop, and some other guy may be managing the work from his mobile or laptop or other kind of station, right? So like this. So heterogeneous client platforms such as workstations, laptops, tablets, and smartphones, right? So the access, the broad network access is provided for any kind of user entity device, right? So that's what the second characteristic says. Now, if you look into the third one tells about resource pooling. Resource pooling. What it says, right? Resource pooling. Say, the computing and storage resources provided by the cloud service providers are pooled to serve multiple users using say multi-tenancy. Say multi-tenancy. What do you mean by this one? I cannot say like say, as I told you that the computation power is provided, the computation facility is provided in the form of virtual machines. This concept that I had discussed, right? Literally, virtual machines. And this virtual machine is having, say, a kind of computation power. Say if I say that it can compute 1 terabyte of data instantly within, say, 2 seconds, for example, right? 1 terabyte of data. So, for example, like this user entity is only recorded with say 200 GB, okay, like this. And again, the second user entity recorded with say 600 GB, okay, required one. And the third entity is recorded with say more 200 GB. So again, if you club all these were like 1024 GB means 1024, which is lesser to 1 TB, no? Again, so this individual virtual machine can manage the execution activities of all these individual users in a partitioning manner. But no one knows that even this particular number one cloud user entity doesn't know about the operation of second user entity like this. So in this way, the resource pooling mechanism has been handled using multi-tenancy. Let me speak about more. Multi-tenant aspects of the cloud, basically this multi-tenant aspect of the cloud allow multiple users to be served by the same physical hardware. That is the meaning of resource pooling. So just now I gave you an example, like, so multiple number of user accesses or multiple number of user requests are handled by one common mechanism, hardware mechanism or software mechanism, right? So that's what the multi-tenant aspects of cloud allow multiple users to be served by the same physical hardware, right? So users are assigned, like, so here this cloud, this user entity is a kind of user, this user entity is a kind of user, and this user entity is a kind of user. So these kind of users are assigned virtual resources that run on top of the physical resources. What do you mean by this? So we have 3 layers in cloud. Okay, so on the top, basically it comes as an application program interface, and which is the subdomain of software. So the bottom one is the infrastructure, and the middle one is the platform, and the top one is the software. So the software manages the activities all, right? So these two are the backups for software, and infrastructure is the backup for the platform service. I'll discuss this in detail. Okay. So various forms of virtualization approaches such as full virtualization, I'll discuss about. Some para virtualization, hardware virtualization, we'll discuss in upcoming lectures. Okay, so these are the first 3 characteristics, that is on-demand self-service, broad network access, and third one is the resource pooling. So moving on, the fourth one is, the fourth one is rapid elasticity. Rapid elasticity. Okay, so what it tells. So we have some observations under this rapid elasticity. As I told you, like say initially that I had booked my slot for 120 GB, but instantly I required 200 GB. So instantly the services have been provisioned. Means the provision is given for me for to elaborate on. So this comes under the rapid elasticity characteristics. So what it says, like, say cloud computing resources can be provisioned rapidly and elastically. So cloud resources can be rapidly scaled up or down based on demand. Now, my case was scaled up from 120 GB to 201. So up to some extent, after some time that I don't require the services of 2 GB, now I want to come down. So again, I come back to my basic plan, or even I can come down to other aspects as well, 100 GB. So there is a provision like this kind of scaling up and scaling down based on demand service is also provided by the cloud under the concept of rapid elasticity. So let's see that there are two types of scaling options exist. Two types of scaling options exist under this category. So I'll discuss just a bit. Yeah. This part I don't require, then let me have a kind of discussion here so that you can understand. Yeah. Yeah, so rapid elasticity. There are two types of scaling options exist. The first one under this rapid elasticity, the first one is the horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling. So we have another name, that is horizontal scaling, that is called scaling out. Scaling out. Right? This is one service. And again, the second one is the vertical scaling. Vertical scaling. So this we treat as scaling up, scaling out, and scaling up. Scaling up. So let's see that. What the horizontal scaling says. Simple, that horizontal scaling or scaling out involves launching and provisioning additional server resources. Launching and provisioning additional server resources. So scaling up. So just now I had increased my capacity of utilization, that is from 120 GB to say 200 GB or even more. Okay. So this kind of horizontal scaling concept can be utilized under this particular characteristic. If we come to the part of vertical scaling, this vertical scaling or scaling up involves changing the computing capacity. This is only for assignment, okay? Assigning. Say, for example, that just now I consider VM machine, one VM machine which is having the computation power on the 1 TB, when the 1 TB data can be processed within 2 seconds. Okay, so I was the existing user entity under this particular virtual machine 1, and due to some reasons the capacity of this virtual machine 1 got failed. Now whenever I increase the capacity from 120 to 200 GB, the remaining 80 GB could not be able to accommodate under this VM1. So the vertical scaling option can be considered to change the capacity, that is the server resources capacity, from say VM1 virtual machine 1 to other virtual machine, where the total computation of 200 GB can be considered under this newly assigned virtual machine 2. This is the way, right? So that's what the vertical scaling or vertical scaling up concept says. So it involves changing the computing capacity assigned to the server resources while keeping the number of server resources constant, right? So that's what. Now, if you look into the other concepts, like the fifth one, the fifth characteristic here is, that is measured service. So this comes under metered one, but anyways that it has some different meaning. Measured service. This is the fifth one. So what it says, like say cloud computing resources are provided to users on a pay per user model that we had seen. Now the usage of the cloud resources is measured, and the user is charged based on some specific metric. Based on some specific metric. So metrics such as amount of like just I told you, no, metrics such as amount of say CPU cycle, central processing unit cycles utilized. Say I have changed the modality of VM virtual machine 1 to virtual machine 2, where the virtual machine 1 is considered with CPU cycles with CPU cycles with slow CPU cycles, whereas the VM2 is having faster CPU cycles as compared to VM1, like this. So the metrics such as amount of CPU cycles used, amount of storage space used, and the number of network input output requests, etc. I mean, say are used to calculate the usage charges for the cloud resource. So, in addition to these 5 characteristics of cloud computing, that the other characteristics that again highlight savings in cost include other characteristics. I'll discuss here. So these are the basic 5 characteristics. Basic 5. So I'll discuss the others as well here itself. Yeah. So this part I'll discuss. So in total we have more, right? Yeah. So this part I'll discuss here now. So let me look at it with a different yeah. So these are the basic 5 characteristics. Then we'll see the other characteristics as well. Okay. Other characteristics we'll see now. Right. So among them, the first one, this is related to the cost. I told you, right? So this is I'm treating as sixth one. So this is performance. So ultimately, we require the performance. Yeah, performance. See, cloud computing provides improved performance for applications since the resources available to the applications can be scaled up or down based on the dynamic application workloads. So here the workload capacity assigned or appended for the cloud is dynamic, not static. So that's why that we are enjoying the beauty of computation today. See how the tremendous growth happened in Google industry, means in the Google corporation and others. You tell me now that we are able to calculate and we are able to transfer the required information with its relevant computation within fraction of seconds, even fraction of nanoseconds. Because of that reason. So because of scaling up and scaling down facility and dynamic application workload mechanisms, the performance of computation has been increased, right, more and more. So that's what the performance characteristic says, right? Now, again, that you can ask me a basic question that even we have other type of computing scenarios like cloud, distributed, grid, high performance, and all. Then why we need to choose cloud only? Why? Because the cloud provides the reduced cost mechanisms as well. Reduced cost mechanism with respect to computation. So let's see that what it says. Say as usual, the cloud provides cost benefits for applications as only as much like computing and storage resources are required. That means can be provisioned dynamically, and upfront investment in purchase of computing assets to cover worst case requirements is avoided. Now, so this saves significant cost for organizations and individuals as well. So applications can experience large variations in the workloads which we submit, right, and which can be due to seasonal or other factors. So, for example, let me consider like say e-commerce applications typically experience higher workloads in say holiday seasons. What happened recently that on the eve of like Christmas Day, like 25th and 1st January, then how much e-commerce business means developed? You tell me that most of the people ordered maximum number of items through the various e-commerce website, no, right? Amazon and Flipkart and others, right? So that is the case. So to ensure market readiness for such applications, so means adequate resources need to be provisioned so that the applications can meet the demands of specified workload levels, and at the same time ensure that service level agreements are met. Service level agreements are met. So if any violation happens, like in between just now, I'm a kind of user entity. No, just now I told you that I'm a kind of user entity. That let me tell you that I'm the user entity of Amazon. I have established like this business and I have opted some space from the cloud, and a kind of service level agreement has been signed, right? And accordingly, the cloud service provider must tick on this particular service level agreement. Say, let me discuss one type of service level agreement, like say within the instant time, the 200 GB of data must be compiled and compiled within 2 seconds. Say if the time even exceeds, then there is a violation of service level agreement. Then this kind of violation happened from the cloud service provider. Then due to the violation, the cloud service provider has to pay back thrice to the user. Great, no? So this kind of challenging issue has been considered under this paradigm. Okay, great. So reduced cost. I would rather say reduced costs as well, right? So this is one of the characteristics. Moving on, the next one, that is eighth one, if we consider, that is outsourced management. Outsourced management. Outsourced management. What it says? Okay, the CC industry means cloud computing allows the users like individuals, large organizations, small and medium enterprises, and governments all to outsource the IT infrastructure requirements. To outsource the IT infrastructure requirements to external cloud providers as well. Thus, the consumers can save large upfront capital expenditures in setting up the IT infrastructure and pay only for the operational expenses for the cloud resources used. Now, even I can establish my own company without having without developing any kind of infrastructure, right? So this is a kind of characteristic service provided by the cloud, right? So the outsourced nature of the cloud services provides a reduction in the IT infrastructure management cost. This is about the 8th one. So if I speak about the 9th one, right? So this is, you can ask me like, so up to what extent the service is reliable? So let us consider this factor also, right? So reliability. What it says, so as usual, so applications deployed, developed and deployed in the cloud. Just let me give one best example, no? That initially the WhatsApp was designed by whom? That undergrad students. Now finally who is purchased this? Facebook Live. So it's a kind of service now the Facebook is providing to us. So for example, so Live, this is a kind of application deployed in the cloud environment, right? So generally it has a higher reliability since the underlying infrastructure is professionally managed by the cloud service. So cloud service providers specify and guarantee the reliability and availability levels for their cloud resources in the form of service level agreements. Just now I spoke about. So most cloud service providers or most cloud providers promise 99.99 percentile uptime guarantee for the cloud resources, which may often be expensive to achieve within house IT infrastructure. Within house, not outsourced. Great, no? Say, let me give one example that the cloud is a combination of cloud data centers. Okay, this concept I'll discuss. Combination of cloud data centers, and say one cloud data center got filled with its computation power and instantly is supposed to compute other services as well. So this cloud data center one can borrow the computation facility from other cloud data center, right? So this is outsourcing, no? So mostly that 99.99% it won't happen. So this kind of service level agreement the cloud service providers provide. Means this is increasing the reliability of the user application as well. Okay, this is one point. Now come to the another characteristics, important one, this word, this term we have already discussed, that is called multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy. Tenancy. Okay, yeah, I'll come back. Multi-tenancy. So let's see that what point or what description this multi-tenancy characteristic provides. Yeah, so what it says, like the multi-tenanted approach of the cloud allows multiple users to make use of the same shared resources, right? Modern applications such as like e-commerce, business to business, banking, and financial, retail, and social networking applications, blah blah blah, that are deployed in cloud computing environments are multi-tenanted applications. So multi-tenancy can be of different forms, my dear friends. So these are of two forms. This is broadly categorized into two. Then the first one is virtual multi-tenancy. This is virtual multi-tenancy, and this is the second one is the organic multi-tenancy. Okay, virtual and organic. So if we consider the virtual multi-tenancy concept, that in virtual multi-tenancy, computing and storage resources are shared among multiple users. Okay, so multiple tenants are served from virtual machines. I have already told you. I'll give you the exact meaning of virtual machine after some time. Okay, yeah. So these virtual machines execute concurrently on top of the same computing and storage resources. On top of the same computing and storage resources. This is what. Now, if we come back to the organic multi-tenancy concept, in this multi-tenancy, every component in the system architecture is shared among multiple tenants. Architecture I'm speaking about. So including hardware, operating systems, database servers, application servers, load balancers, etc. Okay, so organic multi-tenancy exists when explicitly. Organic multi-tenancy exists explicitly means when exists when explicit multi-tenant design patterns are coded into the applications. But mostly in our case, it won't happen. Then virtual concept has been considered up to the level, maximum level. To the maximum level. So these are the extra 5 characteristics of cloud, my dear friends. So all we consider for different use, and these all are validated, and these all characteristics are validated and proved to be efficient enough in terms of providing the services. Okay, this is the way. Moving on, we'll see the other possibilities in the name of cloud models. Cloud models. This is broadly again categorized into 2 cloud models. The first one is the service models, and the second one is the deployment models. So service models, and these are the deployment models. Okay, so under this we have 3. I'll let you know that time by time. So I'll come back from the top design concept. Okay, so first one is infrastructure as a service, IaaS. Okay, infrastructure as a service. And the second one is platform as a service, PaaS. And the top layer, this we use basically. So this is software as a service, SaaS. So IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Right? So I'll create the barrier among the service models and deployment models of some time, but I'll let you know the exact meaning of infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay, yeah. So this infrastructure as a service provides the users the capability to provision computing and storage resources. Okay, so these resources are provided to the users as virtual machine instances. So when the concept of virtual machine instance is appended, then we consider the computation happening with IACC is a virtual computing. 1 point. Virtual computing. We require a software for this, so it is not easy. Virtual computing, right? And users can start, stop, configure, and manage the virtual machine instances and virtual storage as well. So users can deploy operating systems and applications of their choice on the virtual resources provisioned in the cloud. So the cloud service provider manages the underlying infrastructure. Okay. So virtual resources provisioned by the users are billing, right? Billed based on a pay-per-use paradigm. So the common metering metrics used are the number of virtual machine hours, that up to what extent this particular virtual machine is spending the number of hours in performing the computation, right, of one particular application. So virtual machine hours and are the amount of storage space provision. So what it comes here, virtual computing, right, storage and network resources that can be provisioned on demand. So that's what the infrastructure as a service says, my dear friends. Now come to the part of middle one, that is platform as a service. So these PaaS providers this PaaS provides the users the capability to develop and deploy application in the cloud using the development tools. So this is the developing stage and this is the deployment stage, and we can utilize the services of the software for this one. Okay, so let me repeat. This particular service model provides the users the capability to develop and deploy application in the cloud using the development tools, application programming interfaces, that is APIs. So I'm coming back. So this is, we can develop different application program frameworks or application program interfaces, right? Like operating systems and deployment of frameworks, lot many. Like so, the cloud service provider manages the underlying cloud infrastructure, including servers, network, operating systems, and storage. So the users themselves are responsible for developing, deploying, configuring, and managing the applications on the cloud infrastructure. This one. So that's what the platform as a service model says. Right? Now come back to the top level of service, that is called software as a service. Simple. So this runs all the applications. Top layer we call it is, right? So it runs all the applications, management of user interfaces provided over a network. So management of user interfaces, UIs, right? Say I have deployed my say PhonePe application somewhere, but as an end user I'm utilizing it. Where is the backup? The backup is in the cloud, right? Let's see that what it says. So SaaS provides the users a complete software application or the user interface to the user application itself. Here, the cloud service provider manages the underlying cloud infrastructure, including servers, network, operating systems, storage and application software, and the user is unaware of the underlying architecture of the cloud. This point I have already mentioned about. So applications are provided to the user through a thin client interface. What do you mean by thin client interface? Like our web browser. So finally, the software as a service applications are platform independent and can be accessed from various client devices such as workstations, laptop, tablets, and can be accessed from say smartphones, running different operating systems and others. So since the cloud service provider manages both the applications and data, the users are able to access the applications from anywhere. From anywhere. So that's what these three service model says about their services are utilized. Right. So if you come to the part of deployment models, oh, the time is already up. Like this is 3:52 p.m. Anyways, fine. So let me conclude. So on the name of service models, the cloud service provider establishes the services, right? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Software as a service. So these three services are providing all the facilities to the end users like us. Then we can have other sub services under these three as well. So I'll discuss probably in the next class. Okay, my dear friends. Yeah, any observations from your end? Do let me know then. Okay, so let me recommend some books for the same. So we have a good number of books for this. Just as I mentioned in the lecture plan as well. Okay, no, I don't think so. Let me give you the names of. Yeah, there are a good number of books. Then okay, the first one is the Cloud Computing Theory and Practice. This is the one book by Dan C. Marinescu. He is the author. And the second one is like Kay Wang and Fox. That is distributed and cloud computing. Okay, the core concept is discussed in this book. This is really a good book. Okay, and these two books I prefer for the same, and that nowadays you can get material from any kind material from e-resources, and you need to follow the instructions. Means the modalities we discussed, means as we discussed in the class. That's what. Okay, then even the ebook, free ebook is available. The distributed and cloud computing ebook is available in the net. You can download it and you can go to that if you have any interest towards. Okay, then please do let me know if you have any observations from your end. Otherwise, we'll close the class for today. Okay, then seems there is no response. Seems that if people are comfortable, then fine.